again, welcome to Professor Castleberry's Philosophical Lecture Shorts. I am Professor Castleberry. Today we are going to be talking about the Euthyphro Dilemma, which is actually a portion of Plato's dialogue called Euthyphro, where Socrates and Euthyphro are talking about the nature of piety and what it is. Okay. Now, how we get to this point, you might want to check my lecture notes or kind of one of my classes, and we can talk about it. Today we're going to concentrate specifically on this one dilemma that appears, and it's definitely the most famous part of the dialogue. It's definitely one of probably the most famous famous arguments by Socrates. Okay, so one thing just to get things started, so we know where we're at. They're questioning piety and actually trying to give you, if you don't know what it is, a general definition. But remember, the whole nature of that dialogue is to try to figure out what piety exactly is. Basically, it's this. It's right and wrong, the standards of right and wrong in reference to the gods. So what the gods like or love tends to be what is good. So if the gods like it when you're honest, then when you're honest, it's a good thing. Okay? If the gods don't like it or do not love it, then it's wrong for you to do. So if the gods don't like it when you lie and you lie, then it's wrong. Okay? Piety is basically the main idea of morality in the ancient Greek, for the ancient Greeks. Okay? But Socrates wants to know one main question. And so we're arguing about this point. We get to the big portion of this dialogue where Socrates asks Euthyphro this question. And it's basically this. Okay? So do the gods love piety because it is pious, or is it pious because the gods love it? Now at first it looks like that these are two ways to phrase the exact same question. But if we take our time, we can tell that it means two different things. They have totally two different meanings. So let's start out with what A means. Okay? So it says, do the gods love piety because it is pious? What Socrates means by that, if this is the case, that means that piety, okay, would be something that is actually independent of the gods. That they just happen to love it, okay, it's just coincidence they love it. And piety actually exists outside of them. And let me explain this. So first, what I want to say is A actually would mean that piety is independent. Okay? Independent of the gods. It's something like this. If the gods love piety because it's pious, they come across, let's say they are, the gods show up one day, okay, maybe they've created Earth or whatever it might be, okay? They show up and they see something like a human being hitting another one. And they go, they look at that event and go, there's something about that I just don't like. Something in it I don't like. That is not pious, okay? Now, what they're looking at, there's something in the action itself the gods come across and see it and then go, I don't like that thing. And then they just happen to say they don't like it. It has nothing to do whether they like it or not. It has all to do with the action itself. Another way to look at it is this. If there were no gods, if the gods did not exist, and this was the case, okay, could there still be piety? And the answer would be yes, absolutely. What we're seeing here is piety has nothing to do with the gods. It is created, or it exists separately from the gods. It just happens to be the gods of ancient Greece coincidentally love the things that are pious and hate the things that are impious, okay, are impious. But piety is totally independent of the gods. It is something that already exists in the action itself. For another example, under this case, whether the gods existed or not, murder, if it's wrong, okay, would always be wrong. All right? It has nothing to do with the gods. If the gods one day came across and wanted to say, well, I don't think murder should be wrong anymore, it doesn't matter. It's not up to them. Piety is independent of the gods. Okay? Now, B, or this could be B. Okay? And this understanding is a lot different than the first one. Under this one, piety is actually dependent. Okay? It is dependent on the gods. Okay? So what it means is, before the gods come along, there is no such thing as piety or impiety. There's no such thing in another sense of morality. Everything in some way would be amoral. I could murder you, you could hit me, I could lie, we could cheat on each other, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter because morality doesn't exist. It only exists at the moment that the gods, okay, get together and say, you know what, I love that, or I hate this. The moment they claim they love it or hate it is the moment it becomes pious or impious. Okay, so here's the example. Murder is not wrong until the gods get together and look at it and go, you know what, I don't think we love that. Okay, I think we hate it. At that precise moment, that is when that action would become impious, or in our terms, immoral. Okay? Now, the big difference to try to kind of restate it in other ways, think of it this way. Let's go back here to B. Think of it this way. If the gods did not exist, would there be morality? according to B? And the answer would be absolutely not, okay? That gods are necessary or dependent, okay, for morality. They have to exist. So if there were no gods, there would be no piety. There would be no morality, okay? So another way we could look at both these is in A, okay, it's almost like the gods come along and discover piety. It's like it's always been there, and they go, oh, look at that. Okay, we discover it, right? And B, it's more like the gods created. They are the creators of piety. It doesn't exist until they go, we love it, we hate it. And at that moment, they create the moral imperative or the pious imperative, we could say, okay? Now, Socrates, in his argument, thinks that one of these is better than the other, okay? Now, which one is it? And to let the spoiler out, okay, he is going to say that A, he believes, is the better choice, and he is going to say no to B. And he has two arguments, okay? As we'll see, one argument is specifically against B. It says this is why this is a really bad argument, okay? And then he has a positive argument, where he's saying this is why this is a good argument. So he has a negative argument and a positive to try to support A. So let's start with how Socrates thinks of it, and let's talk about argument B. Why not B? Why is that the worst